Test. Good evening, good evening. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Kind of last minute stuff going around as always. It is the last day of the year, so I thought it was fitting. I just got out of the shower, so my hair is actually wet, but I thought it was fitting to talk about what's going on for the year coming. And hopefully people are thankful for, at least what we did have happen. For those who are like full-time, I'll get to the chats in just a second here. For those who are full-time resellers, most of those that I talk to are doing pretty darn good. So we do have to be thankful for the business itself, in all honesty. Just my take on it. One other thing I would say, if you're afraid to change, things are going to change coming the new year. Every year, every year something or changes, or the time, advances, things change constantly. So be ready. We've had some things happen this week, and we've, again, changed up some other things that we're doing. So if you got to change on the drop of a dime, things happen. What may be important to you right now may not be important to you tomorrow. So, like TV shows. Let's just talk about this for a minute. TV shows. I don't watch any anymore. I'm sorry, I got a hair somewhere. I don't watch TV. I don't watch much at all. I don't have any shows that I watch. I devote my time to doing this. That's me. There's things that I've given up that I just don't care about anymore. It just doesn't mean anything when you look at the scheme of it. My age, kids, they're grown up and all that kind of thing. And, you don't want to be doing certain things after a certain age if you don't have to. And, just the fact of investing in this as much as you can to get as much out of it. So that's something that I've given up and things like that. So, I'm thankful for what's happened this year. Things have changed drastically for sales online. I don't know what everybody else is seeing, but I know most of the people that I do talk to are seeing some phenomenal sales going on. I'm not trying to brag or anything, and I don't want to give out any numbers to, have any comparisons. I'm not looking for that, but my sales have been the highest I've ever seen. I'm like shocked. I mean, it's literally like a shocker considering what I was even just a few months ago. And a few months ago, I was way, way up. So I'll probably post something in Patreon just so you can see my year over last numbers or something. But things have changed, and they're going to change. The whole structure of brick and mortar has changed. Next year going forward, I don't see anything other than the increase we're seeing now in reselling going up. And that's just what I said probably 4 or 5 months ago, what I thought would happen. And that's literally the way it's going. This has done a significant and probably permanent change for a lot of things going on that will increase our sales and opportunities. I honestly, even pandemic and everything else, I think partially because of it, this will probably be the best opportunities anybody could have for selling online. This will be like the new Wild West, so to speak, with all the other big businesses going full steam and all that kind of stuff. So I really think there's going to be a lot more opportunities. You're going to have to be able to change. You're going to have to be able to adjust to the new situations and things that happen. There's stuff that's depressing in everybody's life and things like that. I do get a lot of messages and things from people who are having a really rough time, resellers and things like that too. It is heartbreaking. There's only so much anybody can do with certain situations depending where you're at and other things like that. I try to give out stuff that's helpful. I do honestly try to do what I can for people, but there's only one of me, and I'm stretched all over the place these days. A lot of people have some opportunities, though, I would say, to dig down in their own situation and put in a little more effort or something. Again, not everybody has that opportunity, so I'm not trying to criticize anybody for not having some major success. If you're just starting off, it's not a super easy thing, but I honestly feel even people just starting off right now going into 2021 that want to sell or be a reseller, the opportunities are ever expanding right this very second. How long that'll last, who knows? But the point is, we've got a good year or two. If you can still get in that game, you've got a real good spot in the ground floor of what might be this big swing from traditional brick and mortar to mostly online selling. I've been thinking about that a lot. So, because again, I said we've changed our plans just this week once more. Things happen. So, move with it, do what you can. Think about tomorrow. Don't just think about if something bad happens or anything like that. Think about where things might be in a couple of months. Motivation. Motivation for me are, the wife and kids. That's really all I really need to say, hey, I can put in a few more minutes doing this or a few more minutes doing that. And I have people mention, I do a lot of hours, and I have people say, well, you're killing yourself. I'm exercising. I'm moving around. I'm doing stuff. And that's what I've done my whole life. It's not work. Like I'm working for somebody. If you're still working for somebody and you haven't been on your own like this for length of time, like I have, it's not work. I don't know how to explain the total feeling, because it's more gratification than anything else. Because here's an example. I listed in a very short time 1,200 listings in like 20 some odd days. And that brought in a ton of revenue. My numbers just have been shooting up from there. That felt incredibly good to see. It's a massive amount of money we made off just those little items that I listed. So I'm sorry, but that's a rush for me. It's as every bit of a rush spending that time to list it and then sitting there and watching it all pay off in a very short period of time. This is the only thing you can do that. You can't do this working for somebody else. It's your own business. You control it. If you want more revenue, you work harder, you work longer, you work smarter more than anything else. And you figure out ways that work for your business, not necessarily what works for me. I can't tell you what I do is always going to work for somebody else. There's always some side factor or something else like that. But anyway, I'll get off my high horse for a minute there, and let's go see who's here in the house. Again, last day of the year. Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter in the house first. How did you miss? Oh, he must be out. I was going to say there's a couple folks that are usually in here real early, or maybe they posted earlier in the day. How you doing, Dom? We were comparing some items we sold between the last couple days. Sales are coming in at high dollar items right now. Shocker to many people, but that's the case. The high dollar items are still selling. Again, I'll post a couple sold items in Patreon, maybe even after the show. I know there's a few emails in there. I won't call it a name, but I will be changing. It's time. Tomorrow I'm doing my update to the Patreon call-out page. So for anybody in Patreon, if there's any changes or anything else you need, please let me know. Anybody who's new, I add them every so often because it takes a considerable amount of time to reprocess and put everybody in alphabetical order and all that stuff. So anyway, it'll be done tomorrow. So anybody who isn't on it, which I think's like the last 9 or so people maybe, it'll be updated tomorrow, and it stays on. So, it's not like I'm going to pull it off at some point. But just FYI, there's a video and directions for what we've been talking about in Patreon. It's up live. It starts tomorrow. Everybody in Patreon too. So I got lists here. I actually wrote some notes. I usually don't do that. I do want to cover a lot of content specifically today. So, again, Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter, good friend of the channel. Very honest and sincere, good guy there. So just thanks as always, Dom. My vision, I'm sorry. Let me pull this a little closer. Yeah, my vision's terrible today. I got blurred vision in there. Orbit, Roshi, I'm sorry if I can't quite see it. Wished I should have put this a little closer. Let's see if I can't do that. Orbit Roshi, I'm sorry. Happy New Year to you as well. Amy Marnett, how are you doing? Doing it wrong. Happy New Year. Well, thank you as well. 2021, I think, will be... Now, just looking at my numbers right now in my trajectory, I would say we're going to have a fourth quarter all the way through first quarter. That's my take on it. If you sell collectibles, vintage, for sure. No doubt in my mind, for sure. Everybody's got to have that fix on a new card, a new comic book, a new coin, a new anything, and it's the time to do it. You know, people got Christmas money, so on top of that, you know, they'll be spending. I'm telling you, the offers to watchers, I had to start sending some out because those 1,200 items I listed, I had over 400 opportunities to send offers to watchers. I was at, what was that? What would that be? That's 33% of all of those items had a watcher on it in the first, say, 2 weeks. So it's a good category. It's a niche. I'm not going to go into details on it in here, but if you target things and you slam things, you dump a whole bunch of stuff in one category all at the same time, man, it does draw a lot of attention. It's more like a get an attention kind of thing when you dump in a ton of listings over a very short, compacted period of time into like a niche category. It semi-floods it. And I was just getting so many impressions off the new ones. And I don't usually look at that, but I'm trying to compare options, like bombing a category versus just steadily putting them up. And the bombing, man, I've never seen so much action with so many watchers than doing it this way. This way is like topped all the other ways that I've ever done. Again, I'm going to have to do it a few more times to make sure it's not just some lark, but I've got another 1,200 items photoed ready to go, so I'm going to do 1,200 more over the next 3 weeks or so. I think it took me 22 days to get, it was 22 days to get 1,200 items, and it was $68,000 worth of items I listed in that time frame. We sold out of that roughly $7,000 in that same time frame, that same 22 days of just those 1,200 items, those new ones. So if you want to dig in, I'm telling you, for those who are used to 30, 40-hour weeks, even 50, if you dig in, I'm telling you, if you need some extra funds, there has never been a time in my life, and we were just talking about it, me and the wife. There's never been a time in our life when we needed money and couldn't make it on eBay by just busting our butt and listing a whole bunch of stuff. It's always come to my rescue for 25 years when, you know, we needed cash. It's always done that, and it's literally, if I had to compare back then, even the crazy prices things sold, volume right now is just insane on our stuff. I mean, looking at my phone and constantly getting something in, or they're back and forth on offers to watchers I sent out. If you send out your offers to watchers, man, they've just been flying right back in. While I'm sending out offers to watchers, I've got ones that I've already slid down. I pass on some. I don't send offers to watchers to everything. Some items are on sale or were on sale, so I pass on those. And I keep getting new ones popping up and stuff. Same, there's patterns too, as I said in the past. So eBay's rotating listings through some sort of cycle, very obviously. I had 2 sold from the same storage bin that were listed at the same time to 2 different people. The odds of something like that, and then the very next day I had 3 from the same bin sold to 3 different people, and it was from the same time frame. There's got to be a rotation in how eBay's doing it. You know, I'm tracking it, so we'll see. But anyway, let me pop back over here. I know I ramble a lot. Dirt Road Picker, how are you doing? Good to have you in. Marty McGowan, how are you doing this evening too? Let's see here. Happy New Year as well. Hey Bob, how are you doing, Bob? I may get to questions, and I think I got 4 or 5 emails in Patreon since this afternoon when I answered the last ones. I think it was this afternoon. Time's kind of run together this week. Trina, how are you doing? Good to see you. Jeffrey D. right below. Happy New Year as well. Michael Whelan, I'm sorry. I probably pronounced it correctly before, and I just messed it up probably. Thank you. Do you say no sound? Test. Boy, I feel like an idiot now. It's been one of those days. Hopefully somebody can hear me. Let me back that up. I'm almost tempted to turn this off and delete this and start back over. Hopefully I have sound through there. Do we have sound still? Anybody can holler out? See if I can hear you. Getting pumped. Hopefully we heard what I just said. Yeah, I've got a couple people saying the sound wasn't working, and then I see no bar on my desktop. So, but there it is. So, okay, I'm sorry. I freaked out over nothing. It's just been one of those bad weeks where stuff has happened constantly. So I'm just ever expecting something else to be thrown our way. We're going to go into the topics and stuff. Let me go back up since I totally blew it on the sound thing there. Let me pop back up to the top. Hudson Resell, good evening. Record crate. Obviously a crate digger, I would say. Most people wouldn't put record crate. Most everybody probably wouldn't know what a record crate, what they're talking about, I would probably guess. The House of Mini Trucks, good evening as well. That's an interesting one. Anybody think the new 75-cent trade card shipping will grow to include postcards and patches? It's a rollout, so yeah, I would say anything they can get away with doing. In fact, that's actually on my list of discussion topics here. It was accidentally released. I actually have a video on it from like last month or something, like the day it came out or the announcement. E-commerce Bytes. If you don't know who E-commerce Bytes is, you should really look into them. And I do, to be honest and upfront, I do have an article that was, I've got a deal with them. I did write an article for them. I have another article coming out this month. But I've always read, for probably since I've been into reselling, E-commerce Bytes. I honestly recommend it. If you want to know what's going on, there's always relevant, current, new stuff coming on that she posts about. Wonderful person. She's very nice. So if you want to know stuff like that, I think that was one of the earliest persons. I think it probably was the first person I saw to post an article on that new rate for the cards like that. So if you want to catch some good news and stuff, check her out. Check out E-commerce Bytes. Her and her husband do it. Ines, I think I'm probably pronouncing it Ines, that's it. I'm probably pronounced it wrong the first time, but very nice people. A lot of people are aware who they were, and you know, they do have a very good blog post that's been around for a very long time. She's very knowledgeable in the field, just FYI. But I'm not getting paid to say anything. Has nothing, no bearing on it. I've talked about E-commerce Bytes for years, so just FYI, I would recommend checking out the site for stuff just like that. The spiel on the post or the card rate was it was an accident. They were testing it. Now, I don't know if this is true, but you know, you hear stuff through the grapevine. I was told that there were people that were testing it and actually using it. I don't know if that's true. I have not confirmed it. No one showed me a screenshot showing that option, but I was told they are some kind of rollout or something. Again, I can't say for sure at all. It's supposed to be in the next update. Most of the time when they put stuff out in the update, they at least check it and test it to some extent. I know there's still errors, still stuff happens. Anybody who uses Terapeak on any considerable amount of time will know that there's a ton of photos missing from months on some categories. Other ones, there's just a few weeks here, a few weeks there. But none of the photos you can see on some of them in mass sections. I think they caught the issue maybe well after it happened, but just the point there too. I think it could be a big game changer for shipping. I charge, because of tracking, the full first class trackable, so it's like $3-4 basically to ship a postcard. I still ship a lot of postcards, don't get me wrong, and we sell postcards, many postcards every single day of the week, every single week, all the way across the year. I don't think a day goes by where I haven't sold a bunch of postcards. And I haven't put many postcards up lately, at least not on eBay. We've been moving a few things around. Come here. Come here. Come here. She's had a bath. This is my baby girl. This is Jinxie. Yeah, this is the one that loves Daddy. This is my little girl. I think the other one's laying around here somewhere too. Yeah, she can be a little bit of a nuisance. Let me not get too much hair up. But she's had a bath, so I haven't been too bothersome by them. That's Jinx, though. I don't know if the other one's around here somewhere or not, but let me pull this up a little closer. Okay, there we are. Let's move on. I got Nancy right below. Hey, Nancy. How are you doing, Nancy? Thank you very kindly. Mine have slowed exceptionally. Let's put it this way, and I've talked about this before. If Duncan was on here, he'd be telling you the same thing. I find that collectibles sell all year round. The higher the value, the scarcer, the more expensive it is, the more chances I've got selling it at any point. Those items sell better than the semi-expensive items. It's just the way it is. I can't express that enough. We learned when we first started in clothing, hey, this is a lot of work. There's a lot more to it. Returns were high. Just every aspect of certain things. So we started to branch out and look what else was around in our area. And what we're selling now is just what happened to be. I've always liked antiques and collectibles, but I've found through all of these years that I don't get those drop-offs like clothing sellers do. Again, I did clothing. I had bins of clothing behind me. Sometimes if you see me without the backdrop like this, you'll see some bins sometimes if I forget to turn them around that say clothing bin B, D, Z, F, and all that stuff sometimes. If you look closely, you'll see some. I've sold a ton of clothing myself. Not saying it's a bad field. I can't get it. It's too much storage room for me, and I got a video even talking about game changer. Getting rid of clothing was a big game changer for us. It blew every other option out of the water what we moved into these days, because I sell stuff that most people think's crazy, not worth it. It's a joke for good money. I mean, I'm selling pieces of paper that most people walk by or would just crumble up and throw away for 30, 40, $50 with 50 cents a quarter into them. No time to photo, takes no time to list, no time to ship, and then everybody else is working hard for $10, $20 pieces of clothing that have a higher return. I don't hardly have a return rate. I got a video showing an invoice. I had one single return for that month, and that return was only because the person wasn't happy with the item. I do take and offer free returns on the items, but I do not pay them back their original shipment on it. So they lose their original cost. You do not have to refund somebody. Again, I refund everybody if it's my fault. If I did something wrong, I refund them for every dime they spent. If they made a mistake, they do not get their original shipping cost back. And that's perfectly legal, fine, and dandy with everything eBay says. So FYI, that's how I do it with that. But anyway, let's hop over and get to some more names and stuff on here. One Click Wonders, how are you doing? Thank you so much for your... Well, thank you very kindly. What sells well for you in January? Same things that are selling right this minute. My fourth quarter is just like my first quarter. I've got 6 months of basically the same thing. When everybody's deadlocked for winter, everybody buys the collectibles more so offline than anywhere else. So that's what I see happen. I don't change anything up. I don't do anything differently for first quarter at all. I'm expecting to have the same sales I'm having right this second, January, February, March, maybe even April this year or farther on. Now, they do go down just a hair starting at certain times of the year just because of other activities, people go outside and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have any slump. It's just like a up and down through the summer. And if I need to play with it, I do projections, as I said, and I can stuff something in the down slot and fill that gap with some other item, and my revenue stays the same. You'll get to learn how to do that once you've done this for a while. You'll figure out, hey, I can do this at this point. I tell everybody, if you track what's going on, all of your stuff, what goes on this week, the events locally, the events nationally, you keep track of that as well as your sales, so you can compare year over last with events that happen. You'll see patterns everywhere across the year, and most people are surprised, but if you just write that stuff down or keep track of it on a spreadsheet, what your sales were in each area or just in general on a specific day, you'll know what comes up, or the fact that it could have been slow a couple days before Christmas, during Christmas, and then just after Christmas, depending on what you're selling. We had some phenomenal days even on Christmas, I worked on Christmas. I did do some stuff. I even did some videos for Patreon for Christmas, but I didn't do it. I did it a few hours when the kids were doing something or the wife was doing something. So, I don't watch TV anymore. It's not worth my mind power. And let me just say this too. Far too many people worry about what somebody else owns, has, or is bragging or trying to show off. Who cares what somebody else has? Unless that's a good motivator for you, don't worry about what somebody else has earned or did anything else like that. You can show off. You can rent a Rolls Royce and say it's yours. You can rent a mansion and say it's yours. You can do all kinds of things, That stuff doesn't impress me. I don't care what kind of car somebody has at all. I don't care if you live in a mansion or a small house, as long as you take care of it and do the thing that you're supposed to do, the right thing. Who cares? So I never compare myself. I don't care what somebody else wears, or the proper this or the proper that, or you should be having this type of phone or something. I don't worry about that. Don't waste your mind and brain power on stuff like that. Invest it in your own self and your own business. If you earn enough and you invest the time instead of worrying about other stuff, you'll make more money. And if that's what you really want, you'll be able to buy it. Yeah, I'm not a sports card person. Michael's talking about that as well. I get the draw. I will do non-sports cards from the 50s, 60s, and 70s probably. For sure, I'll be able to do single cards effectively and cheaply enough. It will knock off a $3 gap, so you can sell $5 cards, mail them out for 75 cents, and you're making, even after fees and everything else, you can be making $4.20 or so, $4.10, somewhere in there. We looked at those numbers and stuff too. I got a lot of items I don't list just because of that. Now, the only other factor would be the labels. I will have to see what the dimensions are going to be on that, because a dynamo or something, you might have to worry about different labels to fit on a small size. It may literally be a letter size, and I know you can wrap stuff and stuff like that, but there may be some ruling on it, is my opinion, because again, I don't know for sure, but there might be some requirement that says you have to use certain sized, everything, the labels and all that stuff too. So I'm going to wait to see. I did read over, somebody's got, in fact, I think E-Commerce Bytes has a screenshot maybe of that. I've seen one. I don't remember for sure. It was off of one of her posts, but there's a screenshot of what it was showing on eBay, talking about that out there on the net. I don't remember where I saw it for sure. Somebody sent it to me. Somebody, a subscriber actually. I didn't find it myself, but it's out there, and it looked like the real deal. So you might want to look into that too if you want to try and find a shot of that. TikTok, how are you doing? Thank you as well. Michelle, how are you doing, Michelle? Got the party moon on. Adventures We Trust. Hey, Fancy Pink. Okay, I didn't recognize the name. Adventures We Trust. I'll have to remember that. I'm bad sometimes. Like in Patreon, if you change your name in Patreon, I don't usually see it. So if, again, as I said earlier, if you have some name thing you want for your Patreon name and the callouts at the end of all of my videos as a Patreon, let me know, and I'll be happy to address it. It'll be done tomorrow, and tomorrow's video will have that. I actually held up the last 3 videos. I do videos ahead of time, so I held up. I didn't process them yet until I corrected the call-outs at the end, just FYI. But thank you, Fancy Pink. Regina picking Lomo style. Hoffman. Lomo style. I always think of Low Fidelity All-Stars whenever I hear Lofo. Howdy to you as well. Cindy Roach right down below. How are you doing? I've got Studio 123 or 1231. Okay, there we go. Do you think brick and mortar reselling online is the ticket? I will never do brick and mortar. I would stay as far away from brick and mortar as I could possibly imagine. Me personally. There's only a couple options for brick and mortar that I say work. One of the best ones would be like Craigslist picker, Pete. Because he's got a shop that buys from people who need cash. That is a good model. We knew the Brass Ring, and there was the Brass Ring was in Winter Garden, Florida. We knew the guy who ran that back in the day, and I knew one fairly well. We went out to dinner with one. Me and the wife, we used to go out couples with a couple that owned one in Mississippi, and I got to know the pawn shop, the inner workings behind the scenes very, very well. Plus, I had 2 off-duty police officers that worked in my restaurant, and I did stuff for the fire chief too. So I got insiders on a bunch of stuff, and it was kind of interesting in my book. So anyway, I would stay away though, as I said. Brick and mortar is not practical, other than the pawn shop. Being your own boss gives you freedom over your productivity and time, Hazel. Yeah, I've said this, and this is my honest. This is me, down heart, hand to God. This is what I really think. The reselling, to me, it's not the money. I promise you, it's not the money. It is honestly the freedom. I don't care about the money like everybody else does. I'd be happy living out in the shack. Sometimes I feel out in the middle of the woods, living off the land sometimes. I don't have a problem with, any of that kind of stuff. I've camped for most of my childhood. I used to chop down trees. We heated our house with a wood burning stove. I don't mind working hard and, pulling plants to eat and all that kind of stuff. I've picked my own corn many, many times, green beans and stuff. The wife's done the exact same thing. So I've spent my time on a farm. I love little baby goats and animals and the whole works. So we've had rabbits and all kinds of stuff here too. So I can't eat a rabbit, but I feel bad for them. But anyway, where are we at? It is a great rush. Amazon Seller 99. Well, how are you doing as well? Right below is Annie. She's been pumping out some videos too. You got to check out Annie's channel if you get a chance. Annie does have quite a few videos out there on all kinds of topics. Just FYI. Brian White, how are you doing? There's Dom. I'm sure he's probably got some family business going on tonight. I'm sure we'll maybe watch something or do something later on ourselves here. Are you a collector? Good evening, and thank you also. Well, thank you very kindly. Are you a collector? E from Burbank. Happy New Year's Eve from Burbank. Debbie Keith. I've been to Burbank once in my life. My name is 1231, okay? The house of my mini trucks. I appreciate all the help you give us. Hope the best for you as well. What's the advantage of being in Patreon? It's a whole set of videos and stuff. I talk about specific topics. People post. One of the next videos coming up on Patreon, people have posted a whole bunch of postcards, and we're going to go over what's worth looking at, bunches of photos and stuff, and I talk about them. I go into details on stuff I don't talk about on YouTube in general. I do show some insider stuff. I just did a complete video on expense sheets. So I actually redid new expense sheets that you can use anytime you want as Patreon. It's yours to own after you've been in it. So there's those. You can alter them. I've even made sheets for people. I do all kinds of stuff like that. There's a lot of specialty and niche market videos. I talk on strategy and stuff like that. I think there's around, if you count all the live shows, there's like 300 videos. I do at least 2 a week. Some weeks it's 3. I usually try to do at least 1 or 2 live shows. I do story views as well for anybody who wants one in there. That's included. All that's included, of course, at the highest level, which is $9.99. I don't usually talk about that very much, but I do have the Patreon. $1.99, $4.99, and $9.99. $9.99 includes everything. So if you want the actual content, that's what you'd want. So just FYI. Has anybody ever sold a car on eBay? Yes, I've sold, if you know what a Prevost is, we've sold a few motorhomes in our time. A Prevost is a tour bus, basically. They're massive. We sold it for over $500,000 is what it went for. We didn't own it. We sold it for somebody else. My commission was just a hair more than what I made on a previous job for an entire year off that one item. Doesn't happen very often, but we've sold a handful. I haven't had any issues. Now, they've sprung off. I think that What's It Auto is now on a separate platform by eBay, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't sold anything in years on there, a few years, but it is a viable platform for selling that. We went through a bank, and it was escrow and a bunch of other stuff we had to set up for it. I hadn't done that with anything until I did that specific sale of the Prevost, just FYI. I worked at an RV chain as a manager, and I had contacts. A lot of like touring companies, like Tanya Tucker came in there once, and there was a bunch of other famous people who came in, and you get to know people, and that's why talking and reaching out and asking questions, calling people, that's why that stuff works. So anyway, it can be a good experience though. Bartermania, how are you doing? Houston, NASA. Big fan. I've been watching a lot of the I know people aren't fond of Elon Musk himself. I think the project SpaceX itself is phenomenal itself. Just the whole idea. I do watch most of those. When I lived in Florida, we used to watch the shuttle take off. We used to watch most of the rockets take off. And I took astronomy in college. I loved it. I wish there was more astronomy classes, as I would have taken every one that they offered. I aced every one. I just was so blown away from it. Let's get off topic for just a second and just talk about something that interests me. I always get people talk about what interests you. In 1990, 91, December, January, I'd have to really ask somebody else to get the exact date it happened. I was out in a forest in Florida, middle of the night and stuff, and my buddy who was with me, we were metal detecting. It's a long ways from where we live, so we would spend the night and camp and all that kind of stuff. So we were out there metal detecting for relics and stuff, and he bumped me and he pointed to the sky, and I'm like, go away, whatever, and we saw an object in the sky that was the Tic Tac video, if you know what I'm talking about, with the Nimitz. And I don't usually talk about stuff like this. Now my dog's bothering me because she won't leave now. But so we saw something in the sky, and I saw something, and I'm not a crazy person. I don't believe in any kind of weird, crazy stuff. Never was a UFO like buff that would search them down and stuff. But we saw something that did stuff that there's no way on Earth that it could do. There's no vehicle we had in 1990, 91 that could bounce around like this thing was doing. And I mean, riding up on the, it was just a phenomenal experience for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we're like, yeah, okay, well, we saw, who knows, there was military stuff not too far away. Year later, and I'd still kind of thought about it here and there because it did stuff and it was close enough that we could see what it was. It was, like Tic Tac kind of shape. It was kind of oval, roundish thing. It was just light, no noise. It disappeared, and like I couldn't even blink quick enough. It disappeared so quickly. It moved so fast. True story. I swear to you, this is a true story. The next year, Randy, which was the person that was with me, he calls me out of the clear blue later in the evening. We worked with his wife. We sometimes carpooled occasionally, too. I was working at Disney at this time. And he says, turn on channel. And I couldn't tell you what channel. It was an Orlando channel back in the day. And I turned it on, and it was Unsolved Mysteries. And they had a video of exactly what we saw the year before. And there was, apparently, there was an investigation into it. And it made the TV show. They had video, they had photos from several other people in the whole thing. And it's one of the cases that's unsolved. It's a true case. It literally happened, and we were floored. So ever since then, I've always been, just blown away by that, and totally believe since that day that there's definitely UFOs. You call me crazy, you can say whatever you want, but the odds against it are impossible, and I don't buy any of the conversation that anybody says. I like most of the scientists. I respect them and stuff like that, and astronomers and astrophysicists and the whole works. I've read many of their books. I just don't think that their statements that we can't travel fast enough to get here is right. I think the technology is there for other people. Again, I'm not trying to go off into a tangent, but the Nimitz videos came out of the Tic Tac. Those 3 Navy photos that the government has acknowledged are real 100% photos or videos of something they 100% can identify. The Tic Tac movements are exactly what I saw. I've watched Joe Rogan, and there's another guy who's had him on too that's friends with Joe, and I wish I could remember his name, but I think he's an astrophysicist too, or something along that line. But anyway, they had the Nimitz pilot on, and I've watched that interview many times, and his description matches to the T. I no exaggeration, to the T, exactly what I saw near the ocean, near the Gulf, on Florida area, near the coast, to the T. It matches what I saw in that video. It matches what was in that video and the photos that we saw online. So I am 100% a believer that they're out there. It's not some BS. Water means nothing. They can travel on land, water, air, sea, whatever the case may be. That's what I would say. And I don't care what anybody else says. I will believe that to the day I die. And there's too many other things that have come out that I would say that that's probably true too. There's government of Peru's released video that shows something that's no way. There's just too much out there. The government, if you didn't know, they signed the COVID bill. Inside the COVID bill that was signed, There is a government disclosure of the new, and I wish I could remember the letters that they use to describe the new program that is currently investigating UFO phenomena. Aerial something phenomena. You can look it up. There's a bunch of videos on it from government officials now, as well as high-ranking people on it. But they have to release in 180 days a report, at least to Senate, on what they have in the government's collection of data, video, and stuff to senators in 180 days from the day that was signed. So maybe some more knowledge will come out. But the government's acknowledged that we have material from another planet. Again, I'm not making this up. You can look it up. They've acknowledged this. A scientist directly working for the government has acknowledged this. Our government has now patented a tic-tac shaped object with no propulsion, and they actually patented and copyrighted a flying V-shaped triangle wedge spaceship, which are basically the two ships that everybody's seeing. The patent, again, this is true. This is the one area that I go and look at. The Copyright Patent Office refused the government's patent on these items. The scientists that turned them in, the highest ranking general for our defense came out and admit they were refused because they said these are just make believe, they don't exist. There's no way these can be real items. The top general of our defense came out and said yes, there are working examples of these. And they did get a patent on it. That's a true thing. You can look this up. It was released through the Freedom of Information Act by the U.S. government. Just FYI. I'll get off the topic. I know it was a lot of news. And if there's one more news is Proxima Centauri. They picked up a signal, the first ever signal to pass like almost every major SETI milestone to say that it's not terrestrial and that it's coming from somewhere else. And it repeated 5 times for 30 minutes. Again, this is just off there. This is what I spend my free minutes on. That's what I look up. But I'll get off the topic. We'll go back to reselling here. I always said I would talk about it because I get people asking me to bring that up. But anyway. Where are we at? Getting pumped. Beth picking GA peaches. How are you doing? I have picked peaches in Valdosta, Georgia, and Glenburn, Georgia, personally myself. What's up, little girl? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. It's okay. She doesn't like to be lonely. She doesn't like to be alone. This is the baby girl. I know you're gonna have to go back upstairs with Mom. Go on. Go on, go on, go on. Go on. Okay, where are we at? I know I'm way behind, I'm sure. Let me try and catch up here first. Hey, Marty, how are you doing? Your sound is good. Well, thank you. Of course, we got that fixed way ago. I'm way behind. I can hear. Let me pop down and see if we can get past all my flub on the hearing. Okay, I've missed the sound things once or twice, so I'm always paranoid about doing that. Darlene, welcome to the show. Ron Kincaid, welcome. Chuck Harrington, welcome. Creekbank Inc. Debbie Keith. I don't want to miss anybody. Hudson Resell. Dan Uhl. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. I'm not trying to miss anybody here. Record credit. I own a chain of record stores in Raleigh, North Carolina area. Well, that's an interesting one. I do love records. Anybody who knows, my master's thesis was actually on music. I wrote everything on influences of music on the masses, actually. Trust Divine Mercy. Watching from Kentucky. We had some good friends from Bowling Green, Kentucky. As well as I've been in Kentucky many. I worked in Lexington for a very short time, about, 5 weeks, I think. Yeah, I hope they do the card rate, too. I bet you it's going to take 1, 2, maybe 2 cycles, 2 updates for them to do that. I would just say they would want to run it for a length of time. There may be some commitments they have to do. You're probably going to see people trying to scam on it, too. So I'm sure they want to see what rolls and pans out from that, personally. VF, no, I have not. Let's talk about the post office. I want to touch on the post. I don't even know what time it is. I'm just yapping my head off here. Post office wise, yes, they're way behind. Christmas presents that were supposed to arrive are still God knows where. Stuff I sent out on the 5th showed up on the 27th, I think it was. I think that was one of the earlier arrivals. So, post office is having major issues. I am not stopping, or doing anything differently than I did before. I'm just proactively trying to check as many of my trackings to see if they've stopped moving for more than 3 or 4 days. Anyone that's sitting there for, say, 5 days, I've been addressing the best of my abilities, going through and sending a message and, things like that. I had one today for somebody who ordered something media mail, and it hadn't even been 10 days, and I expressed, the issues. The one thing I can say is, regardless of how the person, your buyer, comes after you for a delay or a missed item or something like that, don't ever be super, super nice. Be as nice as you possibly can. Niceness goes a world of distance when you're just overly nice to people and trying to bend over backwards for them. I might put a video together on some conversations I had with a couple buyers and stuff. I had some very nice conversations back and forth with 2 people that were new and weren't familiar with certain things. At the end of the day, it gained me another almost $300 in purchases because I was able to explain differences and concepts and stuff like that with a couple of paragraphs and a few emails. For my 10 or 15 minutes max for 3 or so different customers, I got almost $100 for each of those few minutes. So talking to people nicely, giving them good answers and not just yeah, or that's what it says on the listing. I hear people say stuff like that to customers, buyers. Don't ever take anybody for granted. You never know what they may buy. Just like I see people telling me that, they don't respond to questions because most of the time they're just wasting their time. I would say the majority of time when somebody asks me a question, a good 50+% of the time, Jinxie, a good 50% of the time, they're actually going to buy it or have an honest and sincere interest in doing it. And I do get a sale a good chunk of the time when somebody does ask. Now, my items are more collectibles. They're shown very well. It's not like a piece of clothing, somebody asking you, does it fit this way? Does it fit that way? Is it cut this way? All those kind of questions you get when you do clothing. The questions I get, most all of the time, you can literally tell from the question what they want to know, whether they're honestly interested in the item. Like if you forget to put a size on it and somebody's asking for a dimension on a piece of paper, that's on you. That should be something that was in the listing in the first place. So somebody wanting to know size is honestly interested in that item. Maybe not so much in clothing when it says the size in the title, but for what I sell, that's the case. I'm just moving on. Like the post office is just what they're, it is what it is, I'll say. There's not much we can do about it. I've heard many people have posted and made comments. I closed down my store. I stopped shipping to the post office. All these other options. I'm rolling with it because anybody getting any kind of decent amount of packages is going to realize the incredibly delayed aspect of the post office. The main page, again, I have an account with the post office. I'm on there quite often. The main page has a splash header at the top that literally says there's delays and that they're doing the best they can. So if anybody, emails me, I already have some pre-written out emails. I send the same one to everybody. It just takes a few moments. But it's a nice long one, and it goes into detail. I apologize and sincerity, and I do check up on those, and I tell them my checkup rates, and I'll go back and check it if I get any updates. It's literally, I think it's like 6 sentences that I wrote out, and it's just a quick cut and paste. I always have a Word document sitting next to my laptop for everything I do, because there's all types of reasons. If I'm sending out an offer to a watcher, I already have a pre-filled out, hey, you want to, check it, there's so many watchers this is going to, and blah, blah, blah. You want to build up some excitement. What's your problem? What's your problem? What's the problem? Come here. What's the problem? You can sit in my lap. She's crying over here. I don't know what her deal is today. But anyway, now I got sidetracked with the dog. Let me see here. Duncan, you changed your icon, your emoji, your icon, whatever you want to call it. Your avatar, I'm sorry, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Java. I do appreciate that. What do you think about junk drawers for 2021? I've never stopped doing them. I haven't done one in a while just because I've got so much stuff coming in that I'm just selling straight shot items. I'm not worrying about the leftovers. I'm just putting all that kind of stuff in boxes. So whenever I want to roll in, I can probably put together 50 or 60 junk drawer lots of decent items. With junk drawer lots, the key to a junk drawer lot is to spike the lot. Spike it. Put a couple really nice items in there to elevate the cost and put them at a you got to market your junk drawer lot. You can't just put a bunch of junk that you can't see. I cram it in there. You make the photos look like it's just a bunch of stuff in there, even if you've got $30 invested in a junk drawer lot, you can make it look like it's $150 in there. Again, it's marketing perception as well. I've had some luck with bin pricing on those with the best offer. As long as you're putting, again, I do zoom ins on those kind of lots. So your main gallery image, your main photo, when you're searching, on eBay, has a zoom in of the expensive stuff. That draws them in there. You put a little scattering of certain items that match similar to the expensive items, but they're just cheapo stuff. You're not ripping anybody off. That's not the intent. The intent, like on most dealers that put out bulk lots, they'll put a couple good items in there to at least entice somebody. You're not going to make a fortune on a lot of those. Most of the time when I'm doing junk drawer lots, it's literally the stuff that no one can sell. I'm able to sell it that way. See, she's definitely bothering me. So it's a way to get rid of stuff that you can't sell other ways. I don't make a fortune on most all of the junk drawer lots. Now, there's some that I've done that they just skyrocketed. I couldn't believe how bad or how well they sold, but those are out of the ordinary ones. Usually, if let's say I've got 50 cents or a dollar invested into each item, I'll get $4 or $5 minimum out of those items in a junk drawer lot. I do that, again, by spiking it, putting something a little more expensive in there. So the average of the items comes in that 50 cents to a dollar range, and I'm able to get back about $4, $5, $6. Sometimes it's much more than that. It depends on the lot. I find that like the fraternal items, the pins, even the pinback buttons and things like that do extremely well in lots like that, junk drawer lots. At least that's my take on it. Stuff that would have a collectible in the field, but maybe those specific items aren't really pricey. In fact, I was literally looking at some on eBay for somebody else that was curious if it was worth buying, and most of the time it's what I saw. The lot that I saw that somebody called out to me, and you might be on right now, Dave. But the lot had a what was it? It was a token, and it was shaped like a can. I want to say it was some kind of bacon token from like the 20s or something. It was aluminum token in the lot, and the lot price on this junk drawer lot of tokens and just junk stuff, I want to say it was $19.99 with a bin best offer on it. I know it doesn't sound like much, but we were talking philosophy, so I don't mind asking or answering questions for a patron or something like that. And the end result was that one single piece was worth what the whole lot was. The other items there would have been long tail. You would have been lucky to get $5 or so for them. Now, if the 75-cent listing fee was, that lot would have been a good lot because you could have sold 10 items for $5 a piece over a long haul, got all your money back at least from the very first item you bought. So you can even buy some of those lots, but most of the time it's just not the case. It works great, junk drawer lots, in my book. Again, they go up and down. The big problem I see with junk drawer lots, as I said, is people don't market them well enough. They don't display the image. I've worked in retail, so I like to market it, and that's why the zoom-ins on like postcards, paper, photos, any of that kind of stuff, baseball, whatever you got, a zoom-in. A zoom-in is where you show the only picture image that you can see is a close-up of one part of that object. That's a zoom in, and it does draw people in. For those in Patreon or those who check out my store occasionally, I've got some buttons up. Mine, if you type in some of the buttons like I've got up, or most of them, mine stands out over every single other person advertising that exact same item in most of the cases, the majority of them, because I took the time to make sure I've got a close, tight zoom in of it. It's mostly white backgrounds and things like that too. So that's a key. It's honestly marketing in those. Good keywords in those. The photo itself, that main photo is what's going to get somebody in there to buy it. If the main photo is awful, or pardon me, but sucks, you're not going to sell it. You're going to sit there and lament, or if it's a combination of a bad photo and bad keywords, or you're throwing in so much stuff and you want to get so much money out of it to start with, it's not going to work. Usually those people who run auctions, it's a draw. There's people that just do junk drawer lots. Basically, they'll run like 50 of them in a month. That's why the 50 number comes to mind every time I think about that. But they'll run like 50 of them a month. Overall, some of them will do poorly, but overall, their percentage of profit from whatever they're running at that time frame, it makes up for the difference. So overall average for whatever they sell those 50 lots for is still a considerable amount of money. You win some, you lose some, but their average was like 70% or something of sales at a comparable price where they were, making a decent amount. So average over that, you've got a 25% wit that might not do so well, but overall that 75% makes up for the loss. They could have almost thrown away 75% of it, and they're still making a very good amount of money or profit off of it. So anyway, hopefully that answers that a little bit there. These paper collectibles sell all year round. I saw Queen Vic covers daily. My 2020 stock sold out as fast as... I wish I could sell out, but there's not enough. I'd have to hire like 10 more people to work for me and just do nothing but lists for months on end, because I'm sitting on like a mountain of stuff right now. I'm literally trying not to buy anything, but it just doesn't work very well. I get it though, Duncan. Anthony Thomas, how are you doing? Thank you as well. What is the best scanner to use for mass amounts of postcards and inferior? Most of the Epson duplex scanners, if you've got stuff that will go through a duplex scanner scans both sides. I have a DS510, there's a DS440, a DS540. Most of the DS line in those duplex scanner, that's what DS stands for, are pretty decent. I don't know much about any of the scanners prior to the 500 line series of Epsons, though. I know some of the newer ones, 600, and some of the newer model named ones, too. I own a couple of the DS510s. The one I have is a workhorse. You can get a used one with the cords. Make sure it comes with the cords. On eBay, shipped for about $100 max. 75 on a good day that works. So I've had the same two. Supermedia.com, I think, is the name of the site. I usually buy the industrial size toner, or not toner, all the stuff for my equipment. That's where I buy it from. So if you need parts, pieces, or anything like that, that's where I buy that for those. If you're talking about a flatbed, I think my flatbed, and I've got a photo flatbed, is a V600 series, I think. It's another Epson. I only buy Epson now for any of the scanner equipment. But I'm almost sure it's a V600 series. It scans slides. It scans glass plate negatives and anything else you want like that. It has a scanning light on one side and a scanning plate on the other. So it shines a light through, and it can do slides, transparencies, and the whole works. That would be my honest recommendation. I want to say a new one of those runs around $3 something. That I personally would not buy a used one unless you really trusted the person that you're buying it from. If they didn't take care of it, the cable that moves the scanning bar across can be damaged if they've messed around or tilted it or shipped it improperly or things like that too, from what I've personally seen. So just FYI. Hang on, let me pop back down here. Oh, see, now you're all quiet. She's just going to sit on my lap. I just missed, my feed just dropped. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Duncan's got to order 25,000 in stock. It keeps selling out each year. I've been honestly trying. We have to reassess our insurance the first of the year. Every year we adjust our inventory coverage, and we're having to up it like, oh my gosh, like majorly. So we're going to have a little increase in costs just to have everything covered, but we're currently like at the 1.5, 1.6 million individual items in inventory that aren't listed. So I've got to cover all of those. Patrons, and even here on YouTube, you've seen some of the new purchases I've got. We bought, 100,000 buttons, maybe 150,000 buttons over many, many years, honestly, in general. So I've got, same thing with records, hundreds of thousands. So, it adds up quickly. Postcards, that adds up really quickly. 100,000 postcards doesn't take up as much space as you would think. Hey, Jackass Retro, how are you doing? Well, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate that. He went from 0 to 4,000 listings and postcards, and now I sell them daily. I'm not exaggerating. If I'm not mistaken, I think we've talked a few times. I think you're a Patreon, if I'm not mistaken. I'm terrible on names sometimes. My brain's been a little racked with some with issues with my son that we've been helping and go through. So anyway, you can start off postcards. As I said, I can list like 45 postcards an hour. I can store hundreds of them in a small spot, thousands of them in a small spot. I can get them by the thousand. If eBay does get the 75-cent one, that opens the game for making bread and butter for many people, $4 and $5 postcards. You'll be selling a lot of them. You can just run off the labels and just stick them on a regular envelope and stick the card in an envelope in seconds. That would change the structure for a lot of people. It will flood the market, though. I'm telling you right now. Postcards will be better in some aspects than a baseball card, because I honestly think there's more people that would put baseball cards up than postcards. A lot of people are scared off by postcards, from what I've personally experienced and heard from doing this for so long. I've been on YouTube now, I think, for 3 years at this point, or close to 3 years. Yeah, I gave you a story. Again, I'm sorry. I have hundreds of Patreons now, and my days these days are, nonstop. I was almost sure I recognized. Again, I think I haven't talked about your name, but it works. It works, so I got you. Yeah, but you can start off from 0 in a very short time and go up there. I mean, as I said, in 21, 22 days, I listed 1,200 listings myself, with doing videos, doing the other stuff, helping pack, showing people how to do stuff, driving people places, doing appointments. I still listed 1,200 listings in 22 days by myself, with all of the other things I do. If I was doing nothing else but eBay in 22 days, this is gain. I could have had at least 2,500 up myself. So anybody saying you can't list quantity, you're just not doing it right. I promise you. He's gotten 4,000 listings in a short period of time. Now, that's what he's got now, it sounds like. So he's probably sold a bunch. When you sell a bunch, like we sell a bunch, if I only list 50 a day, I'm going downwards, because I'm selling more than that on, most days. So if you don't list at least the amount you're selling plus 50 more, you're never going to gain ground on getting listings up. Dom had 2 guys on, which are going to be on my channel. We're going to have a nice conversation with Chuck and Dave, Paper Goy, and Mr. Magazine. I've talked to them. I talk to Dave quite often lately. In fact, there's a message, I think, in my inbox right now, and we've been getting into some technical stuff. So we're going to have a throwdown on quantity one of these days coming up with those 2 guys. Really good guys. I've been talking to Paper Goy for maybe close to a year. Thanks to Mike, too. Mike's out here somewhere, too. I think I saw him earlier. Real good guys, but I'm going to have those guys on. I still need to reach out to Pure Hustle Podcast, too. I will probably have one of those 2 on as well, too. Just FYI. There are some people out there that do offer some good advice and some good stuff for reselling. Most people who watch my channel know I'm very selective on who I have on. Again, it's me. People think I'm weird, but that's just me. I've been around the block. I've worked in corporate America. I'm very careful on connections and things. I'm not saying people that I don't have on are bad, but there's a lot of people that are fakers that put out whole fake content in reselling field just to get your money, and that's I'm very selective. I don't want to get in close with people who are cussing and doing all kinds of just awful things. So just FYI. Thanks, though, Jackass Retro. Again, I do apologize for not getting everybody's name. Linda, I do remember you. Wish you yours well. Thank you very kindly. Keely Bannister, how are you doing? England. Welcome from England. One of these days we'll get over there. I'm just sorry you might have some new competition in the future. Adapt and move on, Jackass Retro. I don't mind competition at all. The good thing with like postcards and stuff like that, he's not going to find the exact same postcards that I'm going to find. No one's going to find the same postcards you're going to find. It just doesn't work that way. There's so many out there that, you know, everybody has the same opportunity. And competition isn't a big ordeal for me. I don't source like everybody else does. I only do targeted now, so I'm not randomly looking out in the wild for postcards. I'm going to a source and just getting the postcards. I don't have any middleman between me and my postcard supplier. I don't go to an auction anymore. I don't do any of that stuff like most people do, and that's my biggest plus in what I do. So people ask, well, you share that, you're gonna get undercut, because I know other people have shared stuff and then talked about something in a store and it was gone before they could get back because they talked about it. I talk about stuff that's available to most people, and postcards have been that way for years. Now, for those in Patreon, you know where another part of my business is going, and as I said, I haven't listed many postcards. Not saying I don't have 100,000 of them sitting here, but I haven't listed them because I go in chains of things. I'm on heavy on buttons and other things like that. I've got a couple 100,000, 150,000 or 100, 200,000 buttons to list. So that's where my time comes. I just got another price, or not a price guide, ID guide for buttons in today, actually, off of Amazon. So knowing and having more knowledge than everybody else in a specific category makes you more money. Again, I'll show Patreon a couple high dollar buttons. I sold a button, 2 buttons in a row, one for $350 and right behind it $275, and I've got many more of that exact same button. That was a $2,600 day. So, and that was just, what, 2 days, I think the 29th, I think. I was talking to Dom about that. That's why it rings a bell. Thanks again, Jackass Retro. I had my store and time away half of December, and stuff was still selling daily. Yeah, price-wise, too, I'm getting good money right this minute on most all of our items. It's been phenomenal, I have to say. I have no honest complaints. I do think eBay has been pushing it, and I do see a difference in... again, I don't usually care about views or watchers. I just wanted to see if eBay... I'm checking trending and stuff like that too, so I wanted to see what was going on. If you check like Google Trending and some of the other things that I've showed in videos, you'll see that eBay is actually on the upward rise beyond the pandemic wise. So it's a systemic. It's actually on its own trajectory, I would say right now, eBay's revenue stream at this point. And they have pulled higher above Etsy from what I see as well, too, because Etsy isn't selling the broad range of stuff that would be pandemic-related items that people don't want to go out and buy. So Etsy is still doing good, don't get me wrong, but eBay has gained some leverage in the field of reselling from what I personally see over some of the moves they've made. I hate to say it, but, you know, it has helped me, my store. I'm going to shout this out here, but I'm doing double right now what I did last month in sales. And last month's sales were the highest. My revenue for last month was the highest I've ever had. And I'm doing double that this month. No BS, no lies. That's what happened in this month. It was like somebody turned on a switch and it just went poof, straight off. And it's not related to YouTube. I don't advertise my store name. I don't push it out. I don't try to get people to buy my stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. It's not my thing. It's just I don't do it. So I'm not pulling them in from anywhere else other than eBay. I don't have any sales running on either. So this is with no in-house sales on my items through eBay's marketing and sales promotions. I'm not doing anything. I don't do promoted listings. I haven't done them in well over a year. Haven't looked back. It hasn't affected me in the slightest bit other than making me more money because I'm not spending and giving eBay money for stuff that I would sell anyway. So that's my take on that. Let me slide down here. Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see doing it wrong on that. We'll have to wait and see on that. I'm not sure who Commonwealth is, but... Kilroy, is there a way to search eBay stores by location? I don't usually do that, but you can search by proximity to you if that's what you're specifically asking. I don't think there's any way to sort them like if you want to go state by state and pick them out. You can only do by distance to you. That's the only way that I am aware of to do that. CC Click, you might be able to try on that. That's another searchable site. I know people complain about it, but I've used it. If you know what you're using it for and you know how to use it correctly, CC Click does work. I have a video even on that, believe it or not, too. So FYI. Do you have an index for your videos? No, I do not have an index for my videos. I used to do one in Patreon for all of my YouTube videos, but I did announce and I did stop that just due to the sheer amount of time that it takes to do it out. For those in Patreon, there is a index for like a year and 6-7 months worth of all of my videos in Patreon. If you type in video log, I think is what it is if you're a Patreon. Not trying to get you to do Patreon, but that's the only place I have anything like that. I don't have the time to go back in and stuff like that. It's just, there wasn't anybody hardly asking for it. I tried to do it as an index, and it just, most people didn't even care. They watched the videos anyway if they were interested, or they didn't. So, Jackie Matlock. Left brick and mortar 20 years ago just to sell on eBay, never going back. I would never do brick and mortar. I would never recommend brick and mortar, again, unless you run like a pawn shop. That's the only one. And again, as I said, I know the pawn shop like the back of my hand. I wouldn't say lived in one, but I knew the people who ran it extremely well. We worked out deals. They ate in my restaurant constantly. We went out to dinner with them and all that stuff. And I got to see the forums, what they had to do with the police department. I've seen what happens when something was stolen. I've seen it all with the pawn shops. At Brass Cannon in Winter Garden back in the day, I don't know if it even exists anymore, the gentleman there used to do jewelry. And I had a deal. Here, I'll give you, here's a sourcing option right here. He didn't list on eBay. He very rarely did any of that stuff. He would buy jewelry and all this other stuff, and he bought new stuff too. He would have appraisals for me. I would be able to come in there and pick items. Other people could do it too, but he'd set certain jewelry pieces aside for me, and he'd give me what he wants out of the item. He'd give me, I could take the jewelry with me. I could photograph it. I could photograph it there if I wanted. I could get a scan of the appraisals from a nationally registered appraiser, gemologist, and the whole works. And as long as I gave him what he wanted for the item, everything else was mine. So we could sell a lot of jewelry that way. $500 a pops. This is my take. $500 profit sometimes. $300, $600, $500. I don't have any money invested into it with this guy. Of course, I knew him for a while. So basically, I had nothing invested into him. I would come after I took the photos. He'd get all the stuff back. I'd leave it in numbered bags and stuff, and he'd be in possession of it. It would sell on eBay. I'd give him the money for it, and then I'd go and mail it off to the person. I kept the difference in the whole work. So it's always paid off for us doing stuff like that. That's why I have a video, again, 10 places to source where you live. Pawn shops should always be on your list of places to source. Always, always, always. I've done extremely well. A lot of the pawn shop guys, if you know records at all, they don't know records, but they'll buy them knowing that there's enough in bulk. If they buy 400 LP records of rock and roll, they know they're going to get $50 out of those or better. They can sell them for $2 a piece and sell a bunch of them fairly quickly. Now, so that's a place why I always look. If you know them after a while, they'll call you. Hey, on such and such a date at 9 a.m., I'm putting out 500 records. They're coming out of pawn. Guy never came back, or whatever the case may be. Or he just bought them straight out. You know, he just wants to sell them, and boom, he's buying some records. I come down there. He's got his money back that same day. I'm buying some good content, good quality merchandise, and I'm able to make a ton of money off of those purchases as well. He doesn't know, but he's quadrupled, 10x'd his money off of me the very first day, and he still has a whole bunch more to sell. I've cherry-picked it now, too, so I've got all the good stuff out of there. That's how it works for us if I go out and do that stuff. Now, I don't even have to do that anymore, honestly. I haven't bought many records lately because I've got so much other regalia, military regalia, including buttons. I've got pins and buckles and helmets and all kinds of stuff laying around here now that have come in, so I'm kind of in that mood right now. It doesn't matter what you sell. In the beginning of this live show here, I talked about changing up and doing things differently. If I walk up on the chance to make $90,000 on something, which is the level I'm at right now with the purchase we made recently, realistic, honest return on the investment is about 90 grand on something that we're doing. It's the biggest score I've ever had in my entire life. It blows anything away, and this is going to be the money for a warehouse that we will own is the way it's looking at. So don't know if it's going to happen, but that's our goal. We've done the numbers and all stuff like that. Man, there's just so many options out there to do this. It doesn't matter what you sell, though. You can switch off. You can do anything else you want. There's no right or wrong thing to sell. There's just whatever works for you. Do you want to go up? What's wrong, girl? Go on. I don't know what her deal is today. But anyway, let's pop over and get to some more comments and questions. McCassidy Productions. Least expensive way to ship cowboy boots in the box. Currently have it set up for buyers to pay based on weight and measurements, but potentially buyers say the cost is too high. Call UPS. Call UPS and see what kind of rates you can get from there. Or look on eBay. Now, we've had a UPS account. I haven't shaken out the numbers between eBay's breakdown and that. Go to Pirate Ship as well, too, possibly. You can do cubic shipping on something like that because of the shape of the box and all like that. I don't usually ship cowboy boots. I own a couple pairs, but I don't mess with shoes or anything like that anymore at all. But I would have done UPS on something like that, and I would do them, depending on the cost of them, I would probably do free shipping and equate it all into the price of the item. Clothing in general is almost always should be done as free shipping because you're going to have too much competition to do it any other way. If you're not including free shipping on most clothing, you're not going to sell many items in my book. From my own experience, I charge for shipping on all the collectibles all the time. I don't do any other way. It's all charged shipping. They pay shipping. Clothing, it wasn't that case. If you are the one-off that's charging for shipping, they're going to go to somebody else who has free shipping. And again, that's another reason why I don't mess with clothing. Nothing wrong with bins or anything else like that. I don't have a bin, Goodwill bins. They're 3 hours one way away is the closest one. I might have done it. I don't know. But I would never want to mess with clothing, selling them for $10, $15 profit an item. I would rather sell a postcard for an $8 profit all day long than have to deal with even a t-shirt, unless it's like a classic rock shirt, or maybe a bowling embroidered bowling, or a Hawaiian shirt, silk Hawaiian or something. I mean, I do mess with a few things, rock and roll, heavy metal shirts, any of that kind of stuff. I do still purchase. I still have some of mine from 80s and 90s that I went to, like Whitesnake. Let's see here. Yeah, Duncan. Now, I wished I could show you some videos that somebody sent me of internal images from well, they're actually videos of main distribution hubs. I was told that there were packages sitting from December 14th through the 16th that weren't being touched. They were just loaded in big, huge. I really wish I could show you, but I don't want anybody from the post office to know who showed me anything. I don't want anybody getting in trouble, but they've just stacked it up into rolling carts. And the place was so full. There's a video I got of him walking through the aisles, and it's just, I've never seen anything like it. I've been in the back of a post office once or twice to know what kind of room they have, and it's just, it depends again where it's at. They're backpiling it. I'm looking at my numbers. I'm looking at where stuff's sitting. If you've looked at tracking enough, you're going to be able to tell the routes of things, where it's going to get held up, and all that sort of thing. You can almost set some of that by, to a clock or a calendar by how they're doing things right now. They are so screwed up because of the quantity. I can't say at this point that it's necessarily their own fault at what's going on right this very second. Just because the amount of packages totals that they're reporting is unheard of anywhere. I mean, it's just some massive amount. And they haven't been able to bring in new labor and all this other stuff. So, I feel from my mail lady is just an incredible person. We gave her cash this year just because I figured that would be better. Last year, I think we gave out gift cards for money. We gave her more this year too, like in a next step up than we did from last year. So, something I would always recommend doing if you have got a standard mail person at your place. Yeah, I've already seen images of the inside, though. It was sad. Our local pawn shop went out of business. Their hours were horrible. The pawn shops that are best are the ones that are open later in the evening, in all honesty. The ones that are open from like 9 till 9. Those are the ones I find the best stuff at, personally. Why is that? Because most of them close like at 5:30, 6 o'clock around here, a lot of them. The ones that are open later will be the ones that get the stuff that people just have to have money after they got off work. So they usually can get better stuff. It's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. All the other pawn shops are closed. You got to go to the one that's open longest if you're in dire need after hours, after 5, after 6. So the ones that are open till like 9 are the ones I always hit first. Always. Just insider on that one. Anthony Thomas, good evening. What do you think about managed payments? The reason I ask is eBay's telling me I have to sign up the end of January. I will sign up just... I haven't had any problems with managed payments. I mean, as I said, you saw one of my invoices just the other day through managed payments. There was 2 errors, or there was 2. Well, one of them was my mistake, and one was an eBay error that was $13 double billed on my receipt there. So, you know, they're going to make mistakes. I had similar mistakes before managed payments, so it's just a glitch. So you should check them. I've had people tell me they found $40 and $50 worth of mistakes. Many of them are their own mistakes, of course. I'm not trying to say they're all eBay's or something, but mistakes are going to happen no matter where you're at. I've seen them on grocery stores. Wherever I go, there's a possibility of mistake. So I'm not going to hold that against them. Those who've been following me for a while know how I feel about eBay, and I'm not going to hold this aspect against them because it happens. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. As long as it doesn't look to be intentional, and none of the mistakes I have seen appear to be intentional at all in my book. I don't think there's any issues with managed payments, in my book. I did switch to getting my labels taken out of my pending payouts and all that kind of stuff, too. I'm fine. I don't have to worry about paying bills, so at the end of the month, I just have a $300 bill. Everything else is all mine. I don't have to worry about anything else. So cost-wise, it's about the same as it was before. A little less hassle. I don't know if that's the case, but it's not any worse than it was with PayPal, other than the people who complain about the holds when somebody opens up a case. I don't care because the money's always there. I don't really care. Usually it's like a $5 item or a $10 item. Someone just didn't think it was this or that. And, I get 3 of them a year, maybe. That's about it. I don't worry about it at all. I'm fine with managed payments. I've moved on. The only thing I'm still bothered by is the lack of the ability to sell tokens, coins, adult material at all. That's just ridiculous that it's almost 2 years that they've blocked anybody from doing that. So if they have a plan to fix it, it's been 2 years. When's the plan going to be out? They haven't even addressed it, talked about it, made a post or said anything about it in months and months and months and months and months and months and months. Nothing. So I don't think they have a plan. I don't think I'm almost to the point where I'm thinking they're fine because they're getting all the money in from managed payments. So who cares if they lose a couple categories that could have been risky in causing them issues in the first place? That could have been their plan and the whole time, and they're just lying or putting on a facade on what their term is on this. I don't care. It doesn't. I've got other places I can sell it if I need to. Mitzi, vintage goodness. It gives you freedom. It's not time intensive if you don't want to. If I want to go out and do something, I do it anytime I want. If I just wanted to stay at the level I'm at, I don't have to do that much. I want to grow it to 100,000 listings as soon as humanly possible. So that's all I'm thinking about. If I can sit there and watch TV, why don't I just list something? I'm not doing anything time-wise differently than I would if I worked so many hours here and then watched TV. I'm sitting at a computer or sitting somewhere just running some listings or doing something. It's not work. It gives me the freedom to me. It's freedom to me because I can stop it or do anything I want. For me, again, we're not on just one platform. I've got employees, so I'm a little different than most people. But for me, it's 100% freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. Not only that, the money I'm making doing this is far superior to anything I've ever done, including a regional, and I made 6-digit numbers for quite some time working in DC. This it's a joke what I used to do compared to what I do now. This is just the best thing I've ever done. This is the most money I've ever made. This is the most freedom I've ever had. Being your own boss is the key, and as long as you've got a drive and you don't, It's not work to me. Again, this isn't work. This is fun. This is exciting. It is a rush to sell something that's this small that you paid a nickel for $350, $400. It's a rush. It's interesting. It's historic. I like the history. If you've seen some of my listing titles, especially like button stuff, I've researched them. I know the history on the stuff, and I like that. So it's not work. I'm not hindered to do anything doing this. In all honesty, the reselling part, no, you put it up and you just leave it. I don't really do a ton of monitoring other than sending out offers to watchers, and many people can do that. If you've got a spouse or a partner or whoever else, you can trade off. You're going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to do more than a certain amount without hiring help or getting somebody else in there. So then that's when it starts to move where you have more and more freedom to do as you wish, when you want, and things like that. Gives me revenue where I can spend almost 12 grand on something and just have it sit there until I'm ready to do something with it. I've never had this opportunities ever anywhere, even working as a regional, making 6-digit. It's crazy that this is the possibilities that you have these days in my book. Where are we at? Up to 3 ounces. The envelope can't be thicker than... I would say that ounce might be wrong on that. It can't be smaller than 3 nor larger than 6.5 by... I'm surprised. From what I understand, it's not. It's like an ounce or less is what I thought the thing is, and I weighed it out. It covers a postcard and an envelope, from what I saw. I could be wrong, but I swore, because a 3-ounce packet goes first class in this country for almost $4. I can't imagine them dumping a 3-ounce package. I'm almost positive I saw on the actual post itself that it's an ounce or something. Weigh out a card, you'll see it weighs like an ounce, because even mine packed with the poly bag, sleeves, tape, label, and then a thick chunk of cardboard is still like 2.25 ounces for any one of those. That's why I say I can't imagine it being as high as 3 ounces. That's not for 75 cents. It's got to be like an ounce by weight volume as well. So I could be wrong, but that's what I read. I'm almost positive I saw that. Nick Horn. Well, thank you very kindly. Items, that's one key thing. Like, even if I show you all the items that I buy, what's the chances of you finding one that's identical to be challenging me in the first place? The chances are almost zip. It's very rare, and considering all the people I talk to, hundreds of them in Patreon, it's very rare that anybody has a card that I have, that they found, that I already have listed. It's almost, I can't even tell you when that's ever happened. And people in Patreon and other places look through my listings very extensively, and I've never had anybody run into that I can honestly think of. Even like Mark's Toys and whatever I sell. It's very rare that you run into the same exact identical collectible. So again, that's why I don't worry. Even if you find the same issue of a comic book, the condition, whether it's slap, there's 100 different reasons why a similar item or a nearly identical item could sell at a different price or sell better for one person versus another one. People, your feedback's not good, and I've got the same item, they're going to buy from me probably, especially if I've described it well, good keywords, SEO, bomb photo with zoom-ins on certain items and stuff like that, no clutter in the image, white around the object, 85% of the image just the item, and things like that. Those are what you got to worry about. That's the way you get it going. Flip the Thrift, how are you doing? Well, thank you. Hope you're doing well also. I don't really do call-outs. I'm not sure who you are. I don't know Flip to Thrift. I don't recommend people I haven't actually watched or can vouch for. No disrespect or offense intended. I don't know most channels. I don't watch many YouTube channels at all for months on end these days. Doms and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So no offense, but I don't promote people I don't know. Neglecting it, Annie. Yeah, that'll happen. That will happen. It's under Annie, if you didn't know. I used to be able to click next to their name on the 3 dots and you could go. I don't know. Can you still do that? No, you can't do that. Yeah, I don't. You can just type her name in, I think, and it'll get you there. James Fabo, how are you doing? Well, thank you very kindly. Uh, there, Annie's dropped it in there. Um, I just missed something. Merle B, what kind of personal 60s, 70s snapshots sell? Snapshots, 60s and 70s, war ones, Vietnam are probably about the best ones that I see, or somebody famous. It's pretty late. Cars can sell, but they're not going to be high dollar ones. The ones I do best with photos are like war ones, World War II and before. The older the better. Turn of the century, 1900s, anything Victorian era you can do fairly well. Old cars, 60s and 70s, just family snapshots just don't sell very well. You can get lucky with people with Halloween costumes on, holding specific toys, Christmas scenes with them putting together stuff for toys or something like that. A lot of those are long tail. A lot of those are like just a standard photo of just somebody holding a vintage toy. $6, $7 maybe. It just depends on what it is, of course, how old it is. I don't buy many newer stuff, 60s or 70s photos, unless it's one of those very specific topics, just because there's so much of that material out there. I could buy stacks of that probably any day of the week if I really wanted to, somewhere locally. Let me pop down a little bit more. Michelle Wyatt, peace back. Caesar Nunes, thank you from Canada. Yeah, Patreon, $9.99 a month. There is a year option where you can pay for a full year, and it's like getting a month and some odd free, I think. I haven't looked at it very closely, but I did offer that option. I have had quite a few people do it as well. Thank you, Annie. Annie's been on here for a long time. She's my first ever moderator, just FYI. I think everybody did get to see Jinx, one of our dogs. I'm moving from Massachusetts to Florida soon. How's the antique scene in Florida? Florida I lived in for 10 plus years, worked at Disney, and we sourced Mount Dora. We did Reniger's antique markets. In fact, my first business buyout, I bought out an antique bookstore in Mount Dora. The gentleman who owned it, his father and mother were the founders of Frosty Soda Shop, the Frosty soda bottles. Frosty root beer, I think it was. In fact, I have some Frosty items that were employee only that he gave us out of that. But I bought an entire bookstore out of there. Mount Dora was always the best place. Webster's is a flea market that runs on Monday mornings down there. I used to set up there for quite some time. You could show up with a flashlight at 4 in the morning. You used to be able to score out like mad. My best comic book purchases ever were there. My best Micronaut purchases were there. I had a lot of good purchases out there. CDVs. I got a bunch of Dags there before too, Daguerreos and stuff too. Very good place. I did fine in Florida. If you're like in the Orlando, BVL, Lake Buena Vista area, and Winter Garden, Claremont, Kissimmee area, there's a lot of thrift stores, or there used to be. On Highway 50, we used to get a bunch. And on Orange Avenue, downtown, like Church Street area down in Orlando, we used to park under the I-4 overpass, and then we'd walk Church Street. And there used to be a whole bunch of antique stores near a record shop called Rock and Roll Heaven, and we knew that guy fairly well, too. But that whole area was just phenomenal back in the day. I don't know, I haven't been there in years. But we used to drive all the I-4 corridor. We used to do St. Pete, Sarasota, up to Safety Harbor, and then we do Daytona all the way up to like Flagler, and then St. Augustine, and then we travel down to like West Palm sometimes too, and do that area too. The only place I never had much chance was in the Miami area. We did go down to the Keys and Alligator Alley, but I never did any sourcing in Miami itself. Just never got a chance. Anyway. Vintage Philly PA, thank you. Helen Basinger, Admitting it's years ago. Tons of evidence. No problem. I respect you fully. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Trust divine mercy. But they're not going to, that doesn't mean we're going to ever know anything that they know. That just means that the senators will know what's going on. Harry Reid was one of the ones who started this all. Let me tell you another something here that I was just discussing. There is a military personnel, military soldier that was hurt. And I think it was Ramstad, the Ramstad incident. And he suffered, I think it was radiation or some kind of weird poisoning of some kind. He is getting disabilities for a UFO, for a non-terrestrial vehicle landing near him. And that's true. He is literally getting disability because of a UFO incident. It's the only one in this country, but that's a true story. You can look that one up too. One of the senators jumped in and made sure he got it because they tried to refuse it to them, and he does have. It's like one of the known cases that there's no defy or no way to debunk it or prove it either way. But it's not unsolved, and there's no way they'll ever be able to solve the issue. But yeah, Florida is good, but I don't wish anybody to die to get their stuff, though. I'm not saying you're doing that. I just the way. It only has to be given out to the senators. It doesn't have to be declassified. That's a different story. I looked into the government documents. I've talked to some people, and what's his name? The guy from Blink 182 that everybody thinks crazy. That's part of To the Stars. I don't know about them, but I know scientists working for them. I don't believe in Skinwalker Ranch or any of that stuff, but I do believe that there are something there because I saw one, and I'm not crazy. It's the only thing in my life that I can 100% say that it was a solid object doing stuff that no one on Earth could survive a turn like, and then straight up. It's just no way. There's just no way. And this was, what, 30 years ago, and it hasn't produced any technology like that here. It's just the way it is. I don't think that distance means anything when you have technology. So all those people, the scientists talking about, it's light years away. It'd take us a lifetime to get there. For them, it may be a second away. I don't buy it. I've looked into the physics. I've read, The Universe in a Nutshell. I've read that by Hawking's. I've read Einstein's paperwork too. I took all that stuff in college, and I took physics and all that kind of stuff. I've looked into it very, very heavily, honestly. Dan, oh, well, good to have you first time on a live one. My dog finally left, but my nose has hair all over it. Dina Ross, our house is a clean mess full of stuff. Yeah, I don't, as long as it's organized, I don't keep stuff on the floor unless I have to, but I everything has a disorganized spot, I guess you could say. I know where everything's at pretty much. You can no longer open a lost package claim as of yesterday. It has to be gone for so long. You've got, I think, 30 days to open up. I heard that they're waiving some of that, but I can't be sure on that. If you have insurance, you're covered either way, though. Lost or not, whether you get a lost package claim or not. Insurance-wise, I'd claim the insurance. Annie said the post office is closed or caught up. Our problem is in Detroit. Pontiac, Ann Arbor, and Detroit are all jammed up. And Toledo, which is on the other side of it, is having issues. So my blockage is coming from those two sources. It's sad, though. I ordered something from Amazon, and it's here in 2 days. Or a day, if that's what I pick on there. We've got a Prime account, so I know a lot of people hate Amazon, but I use Amazon a lot. I hate to say it, but convenience and everything else about it. I don't buy a lot of things. I usually buy reselling stuff like books and things like that mostly, or clothing, you know. Hang on just a second here. Let me... Oh, there goes my feed. And I had something I wanted to... Dina Rose, make posting simplified seems so daunting. It depends on what you're selling. Again, like I said with clothing, again, I went into a whole video on just this. So look back like in the last couple weeks. Game changer for us. That's the name of the video. Just type in game changer. Clothing wise, I could list 10, maybe if I'm lucky, decent clothing items in an hour. If I'm lucky, maybe 8, maybe 5 for some people, maybe 4 for some people. You'd be surprised, the first few pieces of clothing you list what you're doing and all the measurements and stuff you got to do and all that kind of stuff. Now, as soon as I gave up doing the long list item things like that, I figured out how to list postcards. And then I found through Popeye's postcards, duplex scanner. I gave up on scanners after trying all the other ones, but duplex scanner sped up time even more. Like listing the buttons, I figured out that I don't have to crop. Now, I know people say you can just change the lens. I use the same lens on there most of the time because I like the fact of the quality and the field. I'm going to edit them in a different way, too. The crops are on eBay for eBay, not for a book. Those are going to be in a book, so I'm doing something different with them. So there's all kinds of ways to speed up the process. The items you sell themselves are usually the reason you're slow with listing them. That's just my take on it. If you don't sell items that take a long time to list, you won't have that problem. It just depends on what you're selling. And if you're selling clothing and you're only making $8-10 and you're spending an hour to list a half a dozen items, you're just spinning your wheels. I've talked about this recently. I think it was maybe in a Patreon video, but your time is worth so much money. My time, the time I take to do something, is worth set amount of dollars. If I'm doing something that earns me less than that amount, I don't need to do it. It's at least in the reselling aspect of it. You've got to have a bottom end where I can't do certain things, or I don't want to sell certain things because I'm not going to have a big enough return on my investment. You sell good stuff, you're gonna get a better return on your investment, obviously. You list a bunch of junk that you didn't research, or you just want to throw some stuff up, you're not going to get anywhere with it. And not only are you not going to get anywhere with it, you're going to waste your time listing it and dealing with it and sorting it and photoing it. Just don't waste time with stuff like that. Changing the items that I sell has literally been like one of the biggest pushes I could imagine. I can't think of any other one that has such a drastic impact. It's changed our business from seasonal and having to switch up items, moving winter coats aside when it's summer, and summer clothing when it's winter. And I know it still can sell during certain times of the year, but for the most part, you'll sell a few here and a few there. You still might sell some jackets and things like that. Switching up from that to merchandise that they're looking for every day of the year, someone's looking to add something to their collection. They don't stop because it's summer trying to find a baseball card, trying to find a coin, trying to find a stamp, trying to find a comic book or an action figure or anything. They don't stop. A collector doesn't stop. They're not, oh, it's summer, I better stop buying this type of item. I better stop collecting for 3 months. They don't do that. That's why it's different. That's why you'll have more opportunities in other areas. I'm not saying you have to do collectibles. Don't get me wrong. There's other items. There's wholesale, and there's all kinds of other things like that. Right now would probably be a pretty good time to buy a lot of the clearance Christmas lights. I've said this many times. You buy the right ones, the right colors, the right price. They sell all year round, and you can do a bulk list. You can do one listing and sell dozens or hundreds of them. Most of those are ungated and open to most people on Amazon as well. So you just put it up, you forget about it. Or you hold on to it, you buy in mass bulk, and you hold on to it next year because you're buying it now 10, 20 cents on the dollar for leftover merchandise. Instead of sending it back, many times they'll blow it out for almost nothing. You buy it in mass bulk, you don't do anything with it, you hold it till next Christmas, and you sell it when it's going for full price ahead of time. Or you list it at full price for 2 weeks, you mark it down just before the main stores start to do their sales. You've got the same item or one comparable, yours should hopefully sell before theirs, and then boom, you've got rid of your stuff, and it's not hurting you at all. That's like a good way to get it. Signing off on Christmas deals you should have done 2 months ago is October, when you usually want to mix a year from this Christmas's Christmas stuff. You got to do it more than a year in advance. I learned the hard way after waiting. I figured I got 9 months ahead of time. People already snaked me out on the best deals. Next time I did it 11, 12 months, people snake me out. So now I'm 15 months out is usually when I start to try and scope in for next year's Christmas bulk and wholesale FBA stuff. So just FYI. Better Barbie. Well, yeah, I always say hit the like button, or I always forget to say that, I should say. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. I think we're running on the, way on the long end. I'm going to end it here in just a minute. I didn't plan on talking so long. I do appreciate everybody coming out today to watch the show. One more quick thing here. I did change the sound to the end credits. I like the dark sound. I'm like, it reminds me of kind of Tim Burton-esque stuff. That's me. I did change it up to be a little more lively, so just FYI for those who've made it. I was surprised. One of the kids pointed out there's a bunch of people saying something about the sound, so I've played around. You've heard many different sounds at the end of my videos, but I've got a new one. It's just going to stay at the one you probably hear today. I did re-edit it to make sure that all the ones posting from now on will have that. But again, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. I got well over 200 people here, 97 likes, 98. Usually I call it out like an hour before this. I totally forgot. Totally lost in train of thought. But I do appreciate everybody coming on. We are going to end it here. Have a good, safe holiday. Don't do anything stupid tonight. New year, new day, and we are moving forward tomorrow. So have a good one.